Hello and welcome to Last Time On. This is the podcast where normally we've picked a show and done some random shit and worked our way through, but we're not doing that today because what's the date? And where's Ben? Vic, no? Hi, Glorianne.
Hey!
From
Hey,
Cool
Xhafer.
Girls Don't Look at Explosions, our sister podcast on the Wahapa Horror Network.
April Fools!
April Fools. That is today, the day this comes out, April 1st.
Yep.
And much like we did last year with some fun mix-ups of the hosts and the shows, we're doing the same this year.
And I don't think we're going to tell people who's on what podcast, right? They have to listen in.
Yeah, listen in. So we're doing a three-parter. We're covering the season 3-part finale of the Doctor Who revival. So we're gonna be talking about Utopia, season 3, episode 8 today. Tomorrow on
This
Who
is a
Are
finale?
You? This is a season 3-part season finale.
Whoa.
Tomorrow on Who Are You? Two other hosts from the network are going to be discussing The Sound of the Drums, and then Last of the Time Lords will be on Cool Girls Don't Look at Explosions. Now, have you watched any Doctor Who?
Okay, so the answer is I feel like my life has orbited around Doctor Who, and there's
Okay.
really no reason for me have not watched Doctor Who.
That's House, right?
Yeah, Dr. Hugh. Exactly. Hugh Laurie. But yeah, I really haven't. I think I did the stupid thing of watching older Doctor Who thinking that I was going to get into it, and I did not. But man, after watching a little bit of David Tennant, like, I understand why people get into this show. He is very engaging.
He is great in this role. And I forgot, this is his second season. He runs for another couple.
Okay.
And I forgot how much of a dick he was.
Honestly, yeah, like a charming dick. Now, are all of the Doctor Who's not like this? Or I guess, what is your background with Doctor Who?
I have seen all of modern Doctor Who except the most recent. I haven't watched the last Jodie Whittaker season. I can't remember the person's name who's the current Doctor.
Okay.
But I've watched half of that season, which is the revival of the revival. That's season 1 again. It's back on Disney. It's on Disney Plus now and co-airing in America.
Wow.
And then there was this revival. I remember, I mean, we went to college together. This started my freshman year of college. And I remember the first 2 or 3 episodes of the revival, the press screeners leaked.
Oh.
And I had gotten my hands on them at the time. And I remember watching these with Jay, and that was like my first Doctor Who experience, was the first couple episodes of this run, season 1, episodes 1, 2, and 3, and watching it and just being all like, man, this is great.
That's awesome. So you got a little hidden nostalgia with this then.
Yeah, I was watching this season as it aired. I watched most of this run of Doctor Who as it aired. I fell off during the Peter Capaldi Doctor era a bit. Just binged would binge seasons at that point instead of watching it weekly like I had done previously. But I have fond memories of my time with this show. But at the same time, I loved this season of Doctor Who. This season had a couple banger episodes, in my opinion. I think 2 of the best episodes of the revival of Doctor Who are in this season, and we didn't watch either of them, for the record. They're not part of this 3-parter.
Interesting.
But Girl in the Fireplace and Blink are both fantastic episodes of television that take place in this season.
So is this retelling the stories of
No,
the... No. Okay.
it's
So it is.
continuous.
So I gleaned from this and from the zeitgeist. I know what a TARDIS is.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a whole world inside of the phone booth. That's cool.
Yeah, it's bigger on the inside.
Yeah, okay. Now I get it. People have been saying that. I know what a Dalit is. I got the idea that every doctor is the same person.
Yes. So
Okay.
there's a couple kind of core things with the show. This show ran for, God, 30 something years. And it went off the air in, I want to say, 86 or 87.
So right when I was born.
Yeah. Right around the time Star Trek picked up again, this show went under. There was an attempt to
Okay.
revive it with a TV movie in, I want to say, like 1996. Back when Fox was doing the like TV movie of the weeks, and none of them turned into shows, but there was like this and Generation X and a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
There were a bunch of TV movies in that era that Fox was doing. This was one of them, and it was co-produced with the BBC.
So this felt very BBC.
Oh yeah, this is pure BBC at this point. So this entire run was pure BBC, and then the TV movie was made with Fox, and then the current series is made with Disney.
Okay, cool. So there is overlap with fans of Doctor Who and Star Trek then, if Star Trek took the audience away.
There is overlap. I believe there was a crossover in the comics at one point.
Cool.
And they're actually, Russell T Davies, the guy who was the showrunner Doctor Who at this point, is a huge Trekkie.
Cool.
And tried really fucking hard to get a crossover with Enterprise, which was airing while this show was airing. Like Enterprise was going off the air as this was coming on, and he tried really hard to get a crossover with Enterprise, and it wasn't something that materialized before Enterprise was canceled.
Okay.
And then Star Trek was off the air for a very long time, and Russell T Davies was no longer involved in Doctor Who, but Davies is actually back on Doctor Who now.
Cool.
He did the most recent season, and with Star Trek having multiple shows in current production, there was a panel at Comic-Con that was like international sci-fi friends, and it was co-run by the guy who, Alex Kurtzman, the current like runner of all things Trek and Davies at San Diego Comic-Con, and everyone was all like, they're finally gonna fucking announce the crossover, and they didn't. So we'll see what ends up happening, but there's been a lot of possibility for a Trek crossover. It might be Disney's fault right now. Disney might not want to deal with it, and the whole Paramount pending sale thing, I'm sure, fucks a bunch of things up too.
And I don't think this is giving too much away, but yeah. I was under the impression that Doctor Who just took place on Earth, but this was not on Earth, correct?
No, Doctor Who, I would say there are multiple doctors, right? They're all the same character in terms of this is the same being, it's the same alien. The doctor, something happens and he gets hit and regenerates and becomes a new person, which we see at the end of this episode happen to the Master, which we'll talk about when we get there. And basically you show up with a new body, you're played by a new actor, and you do have a different personality.
Kind of like a Dax symbiote.
Yeah, you're like a different person-ish. You're mostly a different person. You have the memories of the other people, and then there's even like how Daxy stuff will like summon her past lives. The Doctor is a time traveler. Sometimes the Doctor runs into previous or future versions of themselves, which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing that has made it into my own vocabulary from Doctor Who, I believe, is timey-wimey.
More like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Okay.
That's from the episode before this one.
Oh,
in
fun.
This season. That's from Blink.
Okay.
And if you were to go and watch one more Doctor Who show episode to be all like, do I want to do this? It's a good one. Blink's a little spoopy. Sometimes it does lean in a little bit more with the horror.
Ooh.
But it's still like a kid's show. I don't know that I would watch Blink with Henry.
Wait, Doctor Who's a kid's show?
100% Doctor Who's a kid's show.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting to see it from that perspective because all the people that I've known who have been into this have been 20 or
Adults.
above. Yeah,
Yeah.
adults.
No, it's very much like old Who is very much a children's show.
Interesting.
Classic Who. Modern Who is a little bit more played for the like familial audience. It's something like Bluey where it's not like VeggieTales or something that is like or like what's the number one?
What?
The
Oh, number
block.
blocks.
Yeah,
Number
like
blocks.
number blocks
Yeah.
is like for children. It doesn't care if you're an adult
Right.
watching it.
Fair enough.
Bluey is for the family.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is for the family. This matter, the classic Who is definitely more for children.
When it comes to the children, Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
Okay. Awesome. Speaking of for kids, okay, I know that it's only tangential, but we've been watching through Prodigy,
Yeah,
and I
it's
am
great.
loving it. It is good track, guys.
Yeah, Prodigy was great. Big fan. Shame that season 3 never hasn't materialized, but I went to all the Prodigy panels the last couple of years at STLV, including, was it a year or two ago where they like showed the first clips from season 2 and acknowledged the existence and announced that it was coming to Netflix and stuff. It was a whole thing. It was really cool.
Neat.
To be like part of the breaking news on that. That was fun.
Very cool.
But no, Prodigy's great.
If you guys have kids, I would probably have started Henry on Prodigy. Of course, we started him on other things. He knows Captain Kirk and Mr. Spark. He never calls him Mr. Spock. It's Mr. Spark. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He might be old enough for Doctor Who these days.
Who knows?
Yeah. It's like there's no cursing. Most
Yeah.
of the violence is implied rather than
Yeah.
shown. Like there's no blood or anything.
And honestly, considering taking notes during this was an absolute nightmare because it is so fast paced.
Yeah.
I could see kids being interested in this.
Yeah. If you were to like watch an episode to feel out to see, I remember The Girl in the Fireplace being a good one that would probably be not too spoopy for him.
Okay, cool.
That he would probably enjoy, I think. I haven't watched it in a decade. Definitely watch it without him first. Okay. I wouldn't give it the wholesale judgy endorsement right now.
Okay.
Without having watching it recently, but that'd probably be a good one to feel out.
And listener, if you haven't gleaned from this conversation, we're talking about Henry, my 6-year-old, that with Ben, also co-host of this show. So yeah, he doesn't like things that are super spooky yet, but he has been indoctrinated with Trek and things
He's
like
got
that.
the existential dread, so it's just a matter of time before the spoopy stuff.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Xhafer already knows this, but yesterday's question was, Mom, what happens after the world ends? I'm like, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Yikes. Do I go all existential on you? Can you get this yet? I don't know, man.
Yeah, he's 6.5 is a little young for Death of the Universe. He's bright. I'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
All right, so Doctor Who.
Let's figure this episode out.
Let's talk about this episode. Season 3, Episode 8, Utopia. Right. We open with the Doctor and Martha pit stopping at the Millennium Center in Cardiff, Wales. I've been there.
You've been there?
I've been there. I spent 48 hours in Cardiff, and this was like a thing that I made sure I went and did.
All right.
Was go to where, because this is where Torchwood is. If you've ever heard Ben complain about Gwen Cooper.
Gwen Cooper, right? Yeah. That's the only. And
he hasn't seen Doctor Who, but he's seen Torchwood.
And
so
is that a spinoff? I guess.
Yes.
Okay. And I know that your previous podcast, Draft the Universe, you guys had a feud with the Welsh.
I feel like that was mostly Ben.
Overcommitting to a bit?
I sent him, when I was in Cardiff, I saw I'm going to guess 18-foot statue of a bucket hat that had the like Welsh flag on it. And I sent that to Ben. And if that didn't bury the hatchet, I don't know what will.
It might be big enough to fit his actual head. So
yeah, for sure. There is a hat for you, senor.
Yes. they're talking about Cardiff.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah, this is Torchwood headquarters, which
Yeah.
was built here by John Barrowman's Captain Jack because he knew the Doctor would show up here at some point to refuel.
and that's the guy running at the TARDIS.
Yes.
Got it.
So this is Captain Jack Harkness. So the people who travel with the Doctor are referred to as his companion
Okay.
or companions. And Dr. Jack was a companion in season 1 of this show.
Okay, gotcha.
So he did the thing. We see a little bit about what happens to him at the end of that there. There's like straight up clips cut from the season 1 finale in this episode. And then he goes off and does Torchwood, which is the spin-off show. And then he did that for a season while not being on season 2 of Doctor Who. And this is like Captain Jack circling back to the greater Whoniverse. I don't know if that's the term. And then he's, as a consequence of the events of these 3 episodes, he is missing for most of season 2 of Torchwood.
Okay, interesting.
So these all tie in directly into each other.
All right.
So, yeah, I mentioned John Barrowman. I'm just going to get this out of the way for everyone because I don't know who knows what happened and all the stuff with him. John Barrowman, famous in America for 2 things, really, which is he is the singing Nazi in Springtime for Hitler in the 2000s movie version of The Producers.
Yes.
He is Malcolm Merlin in Arrow. And if you are an American, that's probably all you know about John Barrowman. You probably don't know about all of the controversy about him basically Louis C.K.ing all over the place and just like whipping his dick out places and stuff. It was a whole thing. He's completely blackballed in British media these days. He doesn't work at all because he just would whip his dick out all of the time. And then when like he was supposed to have his big apology about it, he failed to actually apologize and was just like, you didn't understand the context. It was fine when what was going on. You don't know what I'm doing with my penis, whatever. Like, that was young me. I probably wouldn't do it anymore now, but I'm not apologizing. And I'm just like, oh God, you're done. And he is. So,
man. Okay. And that's such a bummer because even going back to Louis C.K. or this guy in particular, it's such a bummer because they are legitimately funny, you know, but you can't divorce your comedy persona and how you conduct yourself in real life. That would be like me being a teacher and like totally being a degenerate in real life. You know what I mean? But
this is something that I listened to Kanye West for a long time. When he started from that point to a long time. I've not listened to Kanye West in years. To be clear, since he really went off the rails about 9 or 10 years ago, I've been completely uninterested.
About 9 or 10 years.
But he was always an asshole. And so I always found myself in the position of feeling like I had to defend him because I enjoyed his art before I reconciled enjoying the art and not the artist, which is something you can do at certain stages of being an asshole. But there's a point where you can't financially support someone who is a terrible person. And when Kanye crossed that line, I stopped. And I haven't gone back since, nor have I particularly missed it. In retrospect, a lot of his stuff is very self-idealizing, self-grandizing. The reason why I don't listen to Kanye these days is the same reason I never got into Fall Out Boy, which is Fall Out Boy always seemed to be talking about how great Fall Out Boy is. Not the band, but the singer himself.
Oh, for sure. And if you think about it, the person you were maybe in your 20s, listen, Kanye was probably a little bit more self-centered than the late 30s version of yourself.
For sure. I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago, let alone 20.
Yeah.
College dropout Kanye really resonated with going into college Xhafer, fresh out of high school Xhafer. So I get it. Yeah. We're all different people now.
Yep.
Except for John Barrowman, who refuses to apologize. So
Louis C.K., John Barrowman, you could be different people.
Yep.
And be creative geniuses. But until then, there are other creative people out there to consume media.
100%.
Like us.
Hey.
Join our Discord.
Good segue.
Yeah.
So Captain Jack here grasps onto the side of the TARDIS as it is pulled into the time vortex. So TARDIS is a acronym.
Oh,
It stands for time and relative dimension in space.
cool.
So it is a box that travels both physical location and through time, which is actually
Neat.
very important if you're time traveling, because if you were to just time travel, you would be in a
Oh.
very bad place if you were to just go back minutes, let alone days or years.
That's a really good point. If we did it here in Michigan, for example, we would find ourselves on a glacier at one point. Like,
Well, no, I mean the physical location of the Earth. Like
oh,
just traveling through time. Like
oh,
not only is the Earth moving at incredible speeds at all
Sure.
times through the solar system, but also the Milky Way galaxy is moving at incredible speeds through the universe.
interesting. So you're not saying that it's okay. I understand
You
now. So
have
it
to be able to travel through space and time at the same time.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
Doctor Who, look at you being so smart.
Okay. But yes, it's very important to be traveling through both space and time. This is something that I actually go on a lot about in the next episode of Who Are You that hasn't aired yet. In that episode of Battlestar Galactica, and I know that we're about to record this one, so I know Laura's seen it, so I'm not worried about spoilers right now before she listens to this. The Galactica jumps to a slightly different place than the rest of the fleet because the coordinates for the jump were not updated with the most recent hour of galactic drift,
Whoa, that's crazy.
which is a whole thing. They forgot to send out the updated jump coordinates, and so they have to do this absolutely absurd math in order to find the rest of the fleet. And
Galactic drift, but yeah, dude.
galactic drift is real.
Yeah.
1.3 million miles is how far the Milky Way galaxy moves in an hour.
What?
As a point of reference.
No.
Yeah. So when they don't update the coordinates for an hour of galactic drift, that means that they are somewhere 1.3 million miles
Where the fuck are we going?
away
Whoa.
from
Like
the center.
I knew that, right? But like
Yeah.
that fast. Wow.
Yeah, every hour.
Wow.
1.3 million miles.
So
Whatever I said, yeah.
when you're saying that you need to account for time and space, you really mean it.
Oh, yeah, no, if you were to time travel an hour back, you would be in the vastness of space 1.3 million miles, or what was it, 1 or 10? What'd I say?
Million. Oh, yeah.
1.3 million miles away from Earth.
Jesus.
Just to be in the same spot you were an hour ago.
This might be stupid, but is the circumference of the Earth even 1,000,000 miles?
No.
I was gonna say. Okay. Wow. So just an unfathomable amount of space and time.
Yeah. I think the Earth
wow.
it's not a lot.
Okay.
Like when we're talking like in millions, it's nowhere near.
Yeah, it can't be.
24,000. 25 rounding.
Damn, we are so small.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember when I was traveling for work, that would be a thing that I would do every year. Is I would say how many times I had effectively flown around the globe
Neat.
in a year, and usually it was more than 2 or 3.
Dang.
With the amount of miles I was flying back in the day.
Yeah, that's so cool. Neat.
Yeah.
We've
So
gotten
anyways,
through like a minute of this. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been. Yeah, it's what we're here for. This episode is very dense and very dumb. So
Fair enough.
this is more interesting conversation, I feel. So yeah, the TARDIS gets pulled to the year 100 trillion,
Yes.
which is the heat death of the universe. Which is fun because you
Yeah.
brought up that Henry had asked that question, and I'd start talking about the timing of the heat death of the universe because I did some research for this episode that we're recording right now.
Excellent. I'm already being blown away, so teach me more.
Yeah. So it's actually close to what's predicted.
Okay.
We expect that the heat death of the universe will start in about the galactic age of 100 trillion years. For frame of reference, it is the galactic year 13,800,000-ish, We don't have exact numbers. We're guessing. And with big numbers, another couple of thousand in a certain direction doesn't fucking matter anymore. But yeah, like it's almost the year 14 billion in terms of the galaxy. And so it gets 100 trillion. The longest lasting stars last 10 trillion years.
Okay.
And that's 100 trillion years is when the galaxy is expected to stop producing new stars.
And this, I assume, is a lot of math.
Oh, yeah. This has to
Okay.
do with Big Bang origination math and
Sure.
like galactic core stuff. And to be perfectly honest, a bunch of stuff that I have not read a lot about or particularly understand.
I'm so glad that there are people out there that do have the capacity to understand these things. I think it's easy to take on like individual, like feeling, I don't know, not empowered to understand all of it. But when you think of the world as a collective of humans, like just how many cool different things we all know as a species is like the coolest.
The collected knowledge of humanity is so cool. And to live in an age where that is like accessible.
Yeah.
In the truest sense. It's actually, we used to live in an age where it's accessible, and now we're starting to live in an age where it's obscured, which is also very interesting. I'm not even talking about necessarily purposeful misinformation, more so about the prevalence of misinformation, the lack of research and critical thinking, and the addition of AI to every search engine ever. But I don't need to bitch about all of that right now.
But the last thing I'll say on this point, because apparently we're just here to talk and not
astrophysics. Yeah, fuck
I
it.
mean, I took Henry to the Ann Arbor Museum of Natural History at U of M a couple days ago, and they have just this amazing display of the fossil record.
Oh, I bet he loved that.
Yes, yeah, you should come with us.
Oh, for sure.
And just fossils that you know what I mean? Like you have the dinosaur books, but things like, hey, here's a 400 million year old fern.
Yeah.
Here's a 500 million year old water plant. And you're looking at it like something out of Jurassic Park, and you're just like, this is nuts, right? And like animals that like they're just not even put down in books. You look at that and you're like, I can't even pronounce this, let alone comprehend where it fits within everything. And the idea that there's people out there who are like, yeah, there's no such thing as evolution or whatever. It's just like, go to a fucking museum, my dude, and not the Ark encounter.
You can't expect, I don't know. I said this in a group chat that we're both in a couple days ago. You can't expect illogical people to act logically.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a bummer.
It is a bummer that Satan put all those fossils there and made it so that the evil science will tell us that they're old instead of me being.
I have worked with people who believed those things.
Oh, yeah.
But we can go into that background of Glo's life after or another time. We got to talk about Utopia.
We should probably talk about Utopia. Yeah, anyways, so Doctor Who, some actual real science. They, much like Star Trek, sometimes try. Anyway, Timu Darth Maul smells them or something. And we get the theme, we get the human hunt. This is all observed by Professor Yana and his assistant Chantho. Starts every sentence with Chan and ends it with though.
Yep.
This is very reductionist.
It was interesting, and I put this down in my notes. This is actually very similar to how Thai functions.
Yeah?
Yeah, so...
that's cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, she had an Asian affect to her voice.
Oh.
So I studied abroad in Thailand. I am not the be-all, end-all of the Thai language. I actually had a hard time learning a little bit of it. But at the end, so we do get a point where Chantho is basically saying, I can't not start with Chan and end with tho because it is not polite. And Thai actually has something like that where you end, if you are female, you end a sentence in ka to soften it. Or if you are a male, you end it in krap, K-R-A-P. So it's basically just like something that you add that's not really a word, but it is I am saying this softly and politely to you.
Are you watching White Lotus?
I am not.
One, you need to, and two,
Okay.
the current season takes place in Thailand,
Oh.
and some of the characters consistently, like, they say stuff wrong in Thai all the time.
Oh.
And like I've caught a fair amount of it, but I know that like I don't speak, and I just know because they do a good job of the Thai characters say the thing with subtitles.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what the kind of some you like, I would not pretend to know what these phrases actually mean or
Sure.
how to properly use them. But oh, the resort workers say this, and then
Mhm.
everyone says this in response. And when some people say it right and then some people clearly say it wrong, you would love a lot of that. You'd
Okay.
probably really enjoy the show, actually. It's really good.
Okay. Cool.
Anyways, the professor here is Sir Derek Jacobi, CBE. He outranks Joe Cocker, OBE.
Oh man.
And he's basically been in everything that I haven't seen besides this. He is just everything. Just
Okay, so I'm
hundreds of
not
acting
crazy
credits.
in that, like, when I saw him, I was just like, I know I've seen you somewhere before.
You watch a lot of like random BBC stuff.
Oh yeah, like Call the Midwife, Rev.
Yeah, like I'm sure he's been in all of those.
Okay, cool.
Professor Yana hears drums as a status report is asked about the footprint, some shit. We'll learn more about this later. This is when the TARDIS lands. Curiosity gets the best of the Doctor as he thinks about leaving. He's really, we shouldn't be here. We should leave right now. We should not be here. Fuck it, let's go. Only to find Jack Harkness outside, and he is completely unboothered.
No, I ain't staying bothered.
That is funny though, isn't it?
No, it ain't actually.
As Martha runs for the med kit, the Doctor knows and just waits for him to revive.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a dick here to not tell Martha. There's an argument to be made that maybe he wasn't 100% sure at this point,
Okay.
in which case he's a dick for being callous about Jack being dead.
Okay.
But he wakes up here. Jack asks about Rose and gets the deet on her parallel universe life. This
Right.
is season 2 finale spoilers if you watch Doctor Who.
And am I correct that he rode on the outside of the TARDIS through
Yep.
trillions of years? Okay, cool. So him being dead is probably something that someone would assume
Yeah.
happened. Okay.
Yeah, it might kill the Doctor, this kind of a trip,
Okay.
to be on the outside of the TARDIS for this. I don't know. I don't know enough about Doctor Who. Someone correct me in the Discord. I will acknowledge it.
All right.
Jack catches the audience up here on the events of Torchwood Season 1. And at this point, Martha is like, you fucking monster, the Doctor. You just leave us places? And then the Doctor gives them shit for just posting on their live journals.
Yeah, they made a blogging joke, which was so 2004, right? This is 2004.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been maybe 7 or 8, yeah.
Is there anything I should know about Martha? Because there isn't much given about her.
She's one of the best characters in the show.
She seems great.
Martha's great. She's one of my favorite companions for sure.
Oh.
She's great. Yeah. She's a medical student, I think, at this
Okay.
point. She comes back around a couple of times. She's in a little bit of Torchwood, I think, at a certain point. Yeah, Martha's great.
How are companions chosen?
They just kind of end up most of the time.
Okay.
Sometimes it's you happen to encounter the Doctor and you get picked up as a companion. Sometimes there is significantly more to it. Like, there have been companions who have like, well, that's weird because I saw you 250 years ago and now you're here in a different time and place.
It's kind of what happened with Jack, right?
Yes, but that was so a common thing for this show is someone will be a minor character in an episode
Mm-hmm.
will get picked up and brought on as a fuller character. Gives like a little test run. Everyone really liked him. Like even Martha, I think, played someone else on the show in a previous season, and they said it was like her sister or something. I don't know. That
They
might
get
be
Jeffrey
a different
Combs.
character. Yeah, they get Jeffrey Combs for sure.
Cool.
Clara's a real strong example of that actress played a different character. And even Peter Capaldi played a different character than the Doctor well before he was cast as the Doctor in the show.
Oh, fun.
And they like find a way to explain that. Oh, the Doctor remembered this dude and thought about their story when he was regenerating or something. They do try to do a pretty good job of tying it together.
Neat.
Instead of it just being, oh, it's just Jeffrey Combs and some different makeup, y'all. Let's see here. They come across the hunt and they get in some cardio. There's so much cardio in Doctor Who.
Yeah, and like the people who are chasing them, they're called the Sakari, right?
The future kind, yeah.
Yeah, so the future kind, and I describe them as caveman Mad Max.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like a biker gang.
Yeah.
They don't have guns or anything, and they've
Mm-mm.
got like leather coats and like studded stuff, but also like sharp teeth and caveman aesthetics. That's a good call out. Yeah.
And the people who are guarding kind of the human compound that we find out is the rocket later,
Yeah.
or the non-rocket, whatever. But basically, to show that you are human, you have to show them your teeth,
Yeah.
that
That's
they're not pointed.
Yeah, that's the evolutionary difference, apparently.
Yeah.
Doctor Who, a lot like Star Trek, is very guilty of humanoid-looking aliens.
Yeah.
They get a little bit more out of their comfort space than Trek does, especially certain Trek shows are really guilty of it. I think like early seasons TNG tried a bit more before they just threw in the fucking towel on a lot of aliens.
Okay.
But they've got like lizard people and stuff in Doctor Who. They get a little bit more out there in terms of the variety, I feel.
Am I correct in assuming that this kind of like Trek takes their story very seriously, but is totally embraces the camp?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. So yeah, so they get in, they find the big rocket that's going to take them all somewhere, as the professor finds them and immediately starts trying to explain how all this works, and the Doctor just does not get any of it at all. We see the reveal of the hand as the Doctor detector. This is the Doctor's hand. So in the season 2 premiere, the Doctor regenerates, spoilers.
Okay.
And because he gets his hand cut off in a sword fight on Christmas Day on an alien ship like above London.
Huh.
And the hand like rolls off and Jack found it. But because it was within like 24 hours of his regeneration, he just grew a new hand.
So people who had watched the show before
Would know about the hand getting cut off at the very least.
but not that it's a Doctor detector.
I think we see the hand in Torchwood.
Okay.
So you might know more about it there, but we're talking about me remembering shows that I watched 20 years ago. So
Sure.
good
And
luck.
it's interesting because this comes into play.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about it yet.
I know the hand is actually a thing that pops up several times, both in this 3-parter in episodes that we don't watch and other future episodes with David Tennant in Doctor Who. It's a little MacGuffin they keep bringing back.
Neat.
So anyways, yeah, the Doctor tells them he's a Time Lord, last of his species. There's a lot of that in this show.
Okay.
We learn the Utopia Project is the last of humanity formed thousands of years ago to try and escape universal heat death.
Yeah, and they explain that all the stars have burned out, that they're in an atmospheric shell, and if they didn't have that, they would freeze.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no stars, so there's no heat. So are you familiar? I've brought it up a couple of times, universal heat death. Are you familiar with the concept?
All that I assume is that all things that generate heat in the universe are gone.
So it's yes, but there's a little bit more to it than that.
Okay.
So all atoms in the universe are slowly, very slowly drifting apart, right?
Right.
And so remember, energy, temperature is a property of matter. Temperature is physically present in matter. It's the speed that electrons swirl around the core of the atom. That is temperature. Which is why laser cooling exists, where you could use a super hot laser to cool stuff. You point the laser and it slows the movement of the electrons. And even though it's super hot, cools the object.
Friggin' science, man.
Science is so fucking cool.
Dude.
Laser cooling is so fucking cool, and I will take any chance I can to talk about it. Heat death of the universe is basically the drift of atoms has happened to a point where energy is no longer possible to be stored in atoms.
Wow.
Like electrons are spinning off of their cores and the universe is physically unraveling.
So how is a human able to exist then? Because we do generate our own heat.
Yeah. So it would be one, it's not a like every atom is spreading apart at the same distance and stuff. And there are things that kind of glue them together and stuff. There are things. But universal heat death is more about the overall entropy of available energy. Because it's basic physics is energy is conserved, right? Energy doesn't go away. Energy just changes forms and becomes new things. That's true in a time frame that you will worry about. But when we go out to the 100 trillion, it is not true. In a grand enough scale, energy eventually dies.
Wow.
It separates so much that it no longer has the properties of energy. And so it's that happening at the universal scale.
Neat.
So universal heat death starts with stars no longer being able to form because the center of the universe that is pushing things out, or the collection of atoms that would coalesce like Jupiter and another gas giant colliding, and the gravitational pull pulling everything together, starting a nuclear reaction and building a sun, which is how most suns are created, most stars are created. That stuff doesn't happen anymore because it's all dissipated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. And I'm sure I'm getting stuff wrong here, so if an astrophysicist in the Discord would like to correct me, feel free. I have a very base understanding of this stuff. I am by no means an expert. So if I get stuff wrong, apologies. I'm trying to be as accurate as I can for what I know. So yeah, so we're talking about like spread out stuff. There's no stars, so there's something keeping this world together, preventing energy from dissipating, it was a source of energy that hadn't dissipated yet. Would probably be a more accurate statement, because if you could get around energy dissipating, then you wouldn't need to worry about universal heat death, because you just make your own shit.
Wow.
Which is hypothetically possible. There's a whole other set of issues. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and then there's a whole underlying thing too about the spread of the universe, and I'm not going to get into any of that. But regardless, so this is a known quantity now, so when you get close to it, you can imagine that you start to worry about it. So thousands of years ago, humanity was like, okay, it's time, y'all. We need to find a solution for universal heat death while we still can. So they set up the Utopia Project, much like Asimov's Foundation feels very inspired by the concept of, we know this will be a problem, so we're going to set up a thing to try and be the bastion to solve the problem before the problem happens.
So Utopia, am I correct in that we don't really know where it is yet?
We don't know where it is. We know that
Okay.
there's a signal out in space. We don't know what's going on there, and we don't learn anything about it in our episode.
And I assume this is not a multiverse situation, like there is only one.
There are parallel universes in Doctor Who. They are very difficult to travel between, but that is a very common, you solve universal heat death by popping over to a universe that isn't having that problem.
Got it.
When you have survived that far into the future as a species, especially from a humanity scale, 100 trillion years, I hope technology would be advanced enough to deal with it. There's also, this is all super sci-fi stuff, like downloaded consciousness and then finding a way to shield yourself. Because the other thing that's part of universal heat death, hypothetically, is the cyclical Big Bang. These usually go hand in hand, where the universe eventually coalesces again completely into one thing, and then another Big Bang happens and the entire universe happens again.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So my humanities ass over here, just like, teaching, reading, and writing and stuff like that. I just love learning things from other people.
Yeah.
This is cool.
I'm glad that I could talk about this cool shit.
Yeah.
I love talking about this stuff. So anyways, Utopia is humanity's project to survive the heat death. The doctor is all like, oh, by the way, I'm a genius. I've got this little Deus Ex Machina machine. I pointed at things and they work, which is exactly what the sonic screwdriver, that's what that device is. It
Oh,
is a Deus Ex Machina machine.
so he doesn't actually figure it out. He just points a thing at it.
Yeah, that's how the doctor solves problems. He points
Oh,
a
okay.
sonic screwdriver at them and they get solved.
Okay,
It's
cool.
a kid's show.
Got it. Okay, got it. He did put something in my notes about that, too. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Doctor Who figures all of this out. He says, I'm brilliant. And then I put down, is this a plot fix we see a lot?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
To the point where it's a plot fix that the writers will occasionally purposefully take away from the doctor to try and make things interesting.
Okay.
Especially, I feel like, in particular, this run of Doctor Who, this Davies run, the most guilty of point sonic screwdriver solves problem.
Got it.
There's a whole lot of that.
Okay.
So, anyways, everyone gets on the big rocket. We get a second look at the future kind that's hiding in the silo here. The doctor and professor talk about self-proclaimed affectations for a moment. The professor says, I'm not a real professor. There hasn't been a university in a long time, which is a mirror of the doctor, who's not a real doctor. And that's just, when you're a Time Lord, you get a name like that. You pick one based off what you're trying to do. And so there's all, just Google Time Lord names. There's a bunch of really cool ones.
Okay.
But the doctor heals things. That's what he tries to do.
Neat.
So compared to the master, who we see in a few moments, who you can guess what his thing is. Their thing, I should say.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah, so that was a fun little hint. If you were a longtime Doctor Who watcher and you knew about other Time Lords and the self-proclaimed affectations thing, this is the moment where you knew who this guy was. Or at the very least, you had a very strong inkling before they reveal it in a couple of scenes. The professor sees the TARDIS. He hears the drumming again. He tells the doctor he's heard it in his head his entire waking life. Some guy goes into the Enterprise's engine chamber, but unlike Spock, he has time to put a suit on. This, of course, doesn't matter when the Future Kind infiltrator finds the breaker box and asks Alexa to play Surfer Rock. The dude in the suit evaporates, so Captain Jack, who can't die, is going in to finish getting the dilithium crystals aligned or whatever.
So can I say that I had a very interesting ad break at this point because I watched this on Daily Motion. And this particular ad break was with Tony Hawk telling us about his high cholesterol
Oh, no.
and how
Tony.
and he's sitting in this room with his skateboard talking about his high cholesterol. And I'm just like, oh, God, it knows that I'm an elder millennial, too.
You're watching this episode of Doctor Who. You must be an elder millennial.
Or is he a Gen Xer?
Oh, he's a Gen Xer for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So apparently we have to take our CoQ10, guys, if we're taking a statin. This has been Tony Hawk. Back to our show.
How do you do, fellow kids?
The Doctor and Jack Harkness talk a bunch of Doctor Who shit here. And the professor hears all of it very conspicuously and is fiddling like a watch, just like from a storyline earlier in this season where the Doctor hid his personality in exactly the same fob watch and pretended to be human in a two-parter that was The Family of Blood. And that was actually a pretty good one because they end up in like colonial era that has implications for Martha, who is a heavily educated black woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good two-parter though. From my memory, I don't know, I haven't seen it in a long time. I hope it holds up because I remember it fondly.
Okay.
But she was dealing with a lot of shit that she shouldn't have to deal with, but that was the times.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, so the doctor hid his personality in one of these. So when Martha sees it, she's all, oh, that was the thing that made the doctor a human. So the stuff that was hunting him couldn't find him.
Yeah, she's legit afraid of this watch.
Yeah. She understands, like when she sees all the script on it, that's Gallifreyan, which is the doctor's native language and stuff. She recognizes it for what it is. And it's just, oh shit, this dude is a hiding Time Lord. That has bad implications usually.
Because Doctor Who's supposed to be the only one, right?
He is the last one as of so when Doctor Who revival starts, in between the 1996 movie and the 2004 2005 revival, there is a whole story arc that happens off camera that is explained very slowly over the first like 6 or 7 seasons of the show. That's called the Time War. So we know that when it opens, the doctor's like, I'm the last of the Time Lords.
Wow.
They are all dead. And not only are they all dead, I watched them all die.
Wow.
Like, this thing happened in the Time War. It was nondescript. It was bad news bears. And it stopped. The Time Lords were in a war with their mortal enemies, the Daleks. And it ended with a complete genocide of both races, the only survivor being the Doctor. So he believes. The Daleks pop up a bunch before the Time Lords pop up again.
So his quirky nonchalance is actually trauma.
100%.
Okay.
And that's a lot more played. So the show starts with Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor, and he plays a lot more into that.
Okay. Interesting.
And he gets progressively goofier between David Tennant and Matt Smith.
Okay.
And then I think it's the end of the Matt Smith run, we actually see the end of the Time War and stuff.
Okay.
They did a thing where they brought back, it was like the 50th anniversary of the show, I think. They brought back like every living actor who played the Doctor. And they had actually recast the first Doctor, who was an old dude when the show started. And he got cast, the guy who's the janitor in Harry Potter.
Oh,
looks
cool.
just like him.
Whoa.
And so he plays the first Doctor in a bunch of stuff too.
Neat.
Yeah, they did a documentary thing, where like a film documentary about him and the making of the show. And he played William Hartnell, who was the first Doctor in that. And then by virtue of that has just been that Doctor whenever they've needed that Doctor.
Very cool. What a cool niche to find for yourself.
Yeah, and then all the older gentlemen who played it in the 70s and 80s that are still with us are just old and in it, playing the same character despite them having regenerated as younger men.
Cool.
They just don't give a fuck.
All right.
They'd rather have the original people and honor that.
Yeah.
Which I fucking love.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
That's amazing.
I don't give a shit about all this Hollywood de-aging, all
Yeah.
this young actor recasting shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm already suspending my disbelief to think about spacemen doing space stuff. Making an actor look a different age isn't going to change that fucking feeling for me.
Nope.
In fact, it takes me out of it most of the time because
Yep.
it feels unnatural.
Yep. Totally.
Anyways, so that's why it's a big deal. The Martha figures out what's going on, runs, talks to the Doctor. So much cardio in this era of Doctor Who. The Professor opens the watch, and we hear the voice here. There's a lot of voiceovers. This meant absolutely nothing to you, because this is all classic Doctor Who actors who played the Master. This is all lines
Cool.
that character had said over 30 years of history. He's like the Doctor's #1 rival. And he's back. This is his first appearance in canon Doctor Who since the 80s.
Cool.
So he had not seen anything in over 20 years.
So were the nerds just having a heart attack when this came on the air?
Oh yeah, man, people were flipping the fuck out. Especially because Derek Jacobi played the Master in a like unofficial Doctor Who animation that was one of the few things that came out in the gap in between shows. So they were
Neat.
like, oh, they're making this canon kind of, oh, this thing.
Neat.
So there was a lot of nerd boners going on about it. And when he was cast, people were all like, they wouldn't, because it was like this unofficial thing.
Yeah. And they
I don't even know what the Trek equivalent would be.
Okay.
It'd be like someone from a fan production who was like recast as Mr. Spock showing up in something, and then you find out that they're playing Spock again or something. I don't know.
Neat.
Anyways, he reveals himself to be the master. He kills Chantho, who manages to get him with her dying breath. She shoots him. The master steals the TARDIS while saying some misogynistic shit.
I think it's important to say that his name is Professor Yana because because it's an acronym for "You Are Not Alone."
Yeah, which was the face of Bo's dying words to him, which is also important, but I don't think for another like couple of seasons, the face of Bo stuff I don't think comes around for a while.
All I said is it's said by a wrinkly mouth.
The face of Bo is this giant undying head.
Oh, okay.
Who is in, I want to say like the second or third episode of the reboot. And
All
is
right.
a semi-reoccurring character. I won't say anything else.
All right.
Because I think you might actually go and watch some of this.
I might after this. I'm going to listen to
some of the face of Bo stuff is like the best twist. I think it's one of the best twist things that they do in the entire show. So
Okay.
I'm not going to say any more shit, and I'll just let you experience that naturally.
Very cool.
So yeah, after this, the master regenerates into John Sim, and he pieces out to credits.
I have a question, okay?
Yeah.
So we skipped over a little bit of Jack going in and being the one who can like help in the room that helps get the rocket off.
Yeah, because he can't die.
Okay. Would a normal watcher know why he can't die?
No. If you just watched Doctor Who, you would know that Rose brought him back to life. If you watched all of Doctor Who, all the reboot. If you watched Torchwood, you would know that he can't die.
Okay. And it has
because
to do
that's
with her bringing him back.
Yeah, the Doctor, like in Torchwood, I don't think they ever explain it. He just is there and can't die, and that's just a plot point. He knows he can't die by the time we see him in Torchwood.
Got it.
And it isn't until this episode where the doctors all know when Rose brought you back, she fucked up. She didn't bring you back as a person. She brought you back as a fact.
I loved that part. Like the idea that Doctor Who says Jack shouldn't exist. You're just a fact.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
what
you're
is
unnatural to me.
and what does that have to do? So it makes me wonder, is his existence until this inevitable total heat death, or is he going to keep on existing in whatever comes out of it?
You actually get an answer for that in the show.
You do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
So I won't say anything else.
Okay.
Oh, wait, let me do the face.
Is this what Laura gets on
This is
Who
what
Are
Laura
You?
gets all the time on Who
Very
Are You?
good.
Yeah.
Very good. Sorry, Laura. I understand now.
Yeah. You have any other questions about the show? Any curiosities? Anything you want to know?
So, yeah.
Are you going to
well,
watch the other two parts? Are you going to listen to? You'll probably listen to the pod.
I'm probably just going to listen to them and get an idea of, am I invested enough in the plot to keep going? I've listened to Who Are You, and Laura even made a good point. There's just too much stuff out there to watch.
There's so much Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I
and
would
yeah.
say if you don't classic Who. Like,
Okay, just don't even bother.
just if you watch New Who and you really like it and it becomes your new thing,
Mm-hmm.
most of it is, I would say probably 75% of classic Who is available.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it. You can watch a lot of it. You won't be able to watch all of it. There's just episodes lost to time.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's
So-
kind of how we did Trek. So, Ben introduced me. Obviously, he started with his favorite, right?
yeah,
Oh, gosh, Cisco and
Deep Space Nine,
Deep Space Nine. And not TOS on
which is
purpose.
a terrible place to start someone in Star Trek.
It's interesting. This isn't for this isn't about Trek, but my captain is always going to be Picard because that's the one I grew up with in my living room, but also Janeway because
Yeah,
cool girls.
for sure. If you pick it up, I
Yeah.
would say start at season 1 of the reboot.
Yeah.
And when you get to the end of Matt Smith, everything's tied up nice in a bow.
Okay.
So if you're happy there, be happy there. It's like watching the Star Wars prequels. Like, the actors are doing their best with what they're given,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying really fucking hard to make it work.
Mm.
And that's a lot more tolerable and acceptable in 2 hours for a movie instead of 13 hours of television for a season.
Makes sense.
So, I don't know. Like, there's definitely episodes of Doctor Who I'm never going to go back and watch again.
Okay.
But if you like, watch the first couple, I would say watch Girl in the Fireplace.
Okay.
And then go back. If you did Girl in the Fireplace, just start at episode 1, season 1 of New Who,
All
which
right,
is on
guys.
Max. And just go from there. And just if you hit a point where you're like, I'm done with this, but I like the idea of it,
Yeah.
check out the new stuff on Disney. On
Fair
Disney
enough.
Plus. I've enjoyed the new season that I've watched. I haven't watched all of it, but
Okay.
I think I've seen half.
Good to know.
Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up? Anything you want to talk about?
No, man.
We should probably talk about our normal podcasts.
Oh, yeah. You can catch me every week with Beth and Laura on Cool Girls Don't Look at Explosions. Currently, we are close to wrapping up our watch of Airwolf, which we could not have done without the last time on boys.
I take
give-
no responsibility for
Well,
that.
yeah, you guys, we are strong, independent women who don't need no man, but
Yeah.
also you guys gave us the idea and your fans encouraged us.
And this is like the 1 year. Like,
Wow.
it started as the
right.
spin-off from April Fool's, from
You're
our last year's
totally
April Fool's joke.
right.
So this is like the little anniversary too, which is fun.
Yeah. So thank you guys for giving us that suggestion. Thank you to the fans. And kind of like, through Who Are You getting to know Laura, I've gotten to know Laura and Beth so much better, and I consider them some of my best friends. And if you want a very silly, feminist friendly show that is taking a look at some pretty bad television for the lulz, come on over. The water's fine over there.
Yeah. Go check out Cool Girls there on Thursdays. If you're here listening to Last Time On, you're probably a normal listener. But if you got sent here from one of the other shows, welcome. Normally, we go through TV that we haven't seen at a very rapid pace. We've done Breaking Bad, Into the Badlands. We're just wrapping Viper. We did Stargate SG-1, Shameless, all kinds of stuff. We have a lot of fun just guessing what the hell happened in between the episodes that we didn't get to see. We get a lot of stuff wrong, and I don't know. I think it's funny. I think the show's genuinely like after we find out what happens, just knowing how wrong I was about stuff, besides being very humbling, is also very humorous to me.
And you guys
other people seem to agree.
just wrapped up Viper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which was really a fun listen. And really what you guys are doing is a valuable public service because, I would have never watched Viper, but I feel like I know Tom, Joe, Mike, Joe, Tom, Mike. So
Mike,
much
Joe,
better.
Joe, Mike, Tom, Joe, Mike.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I would have never watched Shameless, but I know about it. And, it's interesting because my students like Shameless, and now I know a few things about it.
Yeah. And then the OG of the What Happened Here Productions Network, Who Are You, airs Wednesdays. That's where you can find part 2 of this trilogy, where 2 other hosts from the network, names not to be revealed, will be talking about The Sound of Drums, part 2 of this 3-parter.
Yep.
So go check that out. It airs tomorrow. You can find their RSS feed, Who Are You, a sci-fi watchcast. That's Laura and I. We talk about Babylon 5. We talk about Battlestar Galactica. We just wrapped season, I think. Yeah, our season 1 finale would have aired last week, and we're supposed to be on break this week. So surprise bonus episode.
Yeah, I just listened to it and you said something about being on break till the 16th, I think. So
Yeah, I have not acknowledged this April Fool's at all anywhere on social media.
Surprise!
So it's a big surprise for everyone. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Very cool.
So go to listen to Who Are You? Go listen to Cool Girls. Continue listening to Last Time On. We hope you had a great time. So head over to Who Are You on Wednesday and Cool Girls on Thursday for parts 2 and 3 of this trilogy.
Can I sign
And-
off?
Yeah, I've got to say thank you first, but you can totally take the sign off.
Okay.
So before we sign off, I do have a couple thank yous. Thank you Ripe, for letting us use Goon Squad as our theme music. You excited? We're going to see them in a week.
Yeah, so after this airs a couple days, we will be in Grand Rapids at the concert. I'm so excited. It's going to be a great little weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be a blast. Thanks so much for letting us use Goon Squad as a theme song. We love the hell out of that song, and I can't wait. Hopefully you guys fucking play it. It would be, oh god, I hope you guys fucking play it. So we got that. Jeremy Siegel. I did not do the music for the show. I just autopiloted. Go ahead and join our Discord. Leave your 5-star reviews. We appreciate that. It helps get the word out about the podcast.
And if you don't like it, keep that shit to yourself.
Right?
See? I'm Vic.
You got it. Nailed it.
And so I'm going to leave the listener with this quote from the master. Are you ready?
Yeah.
End of universe. Have fun. Bye-bye.